very dark. Hello. Welcome, welcome, everyone. Oh, sorry, I was I was feeling like we're all muted, and actually, I'm not muted. Therefore, I should talk. Hello. I hope everyone's feeling slightly more serene about the American election than I am. And if not, we can recenter and de-stress together. Do shout or flag or wave if there's anything particular that you need me to know tonight. We're going to just have, oh, what, Liz, are you all right?
Slightly dodgy right knee.
Okay.
So there's some things I won't do.
So we're not going to, because Nikki also isn't loving his knee at the moment. We're not going to do loads of squats. We're not going to do lots of bending of the knee. And we have got a little bit of 4-point kneeling, but
that's okay.
You can just rest it back if that feels like it's too much for tonight. But yeah. Everyone else all right? Anything else you need to? Yeah. Am I a bit dark? I think you'll be all right once I'm on the mat. Let's see. So yeah, we're going to start standing. So find yourself a comfortable standing position. You can go against a wall if you quite like to begin with that sense of sort of almost grounding yourself with something behind you. But otherwise, freestanding, so taking your feet directly underneath your hips. I'm just waiting here because there's a couple more people. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, a few more people to come. So I'll just wait here for a moment to let them in. But so placing your feet firmly on the ground. So really kind of connect all 10 toes if you can. Lift up your toes and feather them down as if you're playing little piano keys underneath you. And then imagine the points connecting into the ground and think about lifting and growing tall away from those, like you're a kind of majestically beautiful tree. So maybe close your eyes for a moment and just sort of settle into how your body feels as you allow your feet to feel really grounded and allow there to be a sense of space and length through your spine. And everything else just organizing itself either in a sense of lift and length, so the crown of the head releasing up, or softening and releasing down. So think about your shoulder blades, allow them to soften away from the ears, allow them to soften into the back of your rib cage. Think about your pelvis directly above your hips. You can even sort of take your hands onto that space of feeling around where your hip bones are, where your tailbone is. And then think about what maybe gathering that sense of energy and strength up through your center. As I walk away, someone else arrives. So maybe gently hugging in that sense of pelvic floor lift, lower belly connection. There we go. I think that might be almost everyone. So you're just feeling like when we're standing, we're starting standing, guys. I want you to have a sense of grounded connection down into the earth. Lift and length out towards the sky, to the ceiling. And then a sense of just connecting to your core strength, your kind of core stability by softly lifting into your pelvic floor. If you feel like you want to connect into that back passage through to front connection and lifting softly into your lower belly, and see how that just gives you a sense of being really connected and engaged. But then allow there to be a sense of lift and lightness. Shoulders soft, arms nice and long. And then just breathe and close your eyes and try not to overcomplicate it. So notice if trying to notice all those parts of your body has created a sense of tension. And see if you can just breathe into that lift, that tall standing. And then either keeping your eyes closed if that feels okay for you, or opening them. We're going to breathe in. I just want you to float your arms out by your side. So imagine like a jellyfish opening and widening. And then breathe out, softly floating down. And again, 3 more like this, breathing in, softly opening. And breathe out, pressing and floating the arms down. 2 more, in to rise up. And out, floating them down. Last one like this, in, rising up. And pressing down. Good, now just float the arms all the way up. And I want you just to take your hands behind your head, interlacing your fingers, just softly connecting to the back of your head, like almost like you're kind of trying to lift the head away from the end of the neck. Let your shoulders be nice and soft. And we're going to breathe in, you're going to rise the shoulders all the way up to the ears. So let them creep up there. And then breathe out, soften them down. And again, lifting them all the way up. And release. So really notice the range of movement you have. We're going to do 2 more of these in the shoulder area without moving your head. So you're just working out that space that you have available to you and noticing how much your shoulders like to occupy that space without you allowing them or giving them concession. Let's breathe in and just open the elbows. So imagine you're kind of trying to reach to the sides of the room as opposed to ping them back behind you. We're just trying to widen them, and then breathe out, let them soften. And again, breathe in width and soften. Let's do 2 more. Breathing in, just widen. Imagine sort of growing wings out to the side and release. Last one, in and release. And then just gently bringing the hands onto the shoulders. And let's circle the elbows now. So bringing them towards each other and then releasing them away. You can do that as quickly or as slowly as you fancy, just sort of gently mobilizing into the shoulders. See how that feels across the chest, across the middle of your back. And then just let your fingertips release all the way down by your side once more. Now from here, let's imagine all the weight of your body is going to release down into your right foot. So feel like a sand time, you're just releasing down and this left foot is becoming a little bit lighter, and you're going to pick up that left foot and just hover the knee in towards you. So it doesn't have to come in line with the hip, you can hover it so the foot is softly resting on the floor if that feels better for you. Whatever works for your balance, and you can change it at any point if you need to lower it down. And then from here, just notice if you've allowed yourself to sway to the side. So as Freddie keeps talking about, the Leaning Tower of Egypt at the moment. So imagine you're in the Leaning Tower of Egypt. Or can you just softly bring yourself back so the crown of your head is up rather than over to the side. So we're trying, obviously our weight is shifting a little bit, but I want you to feel like you're still lengthening up, up, up. And then relax the shoulders. Connect a little bit deeper into your pelvic floor here. See how that helps you to feel the weight, holding the weight of your leg in towards you as opposed to dropping it off the pelvis. Breathe, notice which muscles are feeling a bit fired up. And then softly release that foot down, finding the floor. Recalibrating your weight onto both feet for a moment. Let's breathe in here. Breathe out. Breathe in, rise up with the arms. And then float them down as you press both feet into the floor, lifting into the heels. So we're pressing the floor away, rising onto your toes, and then release them down. Now, funneling the weight all into that left foot. Imagining the right foot becomes a little bit lighter, you're going to softly bring that knee in, either drawing it in towards your chest or little hover, whichever feels right for you. Seeing if one side feels less stable or more stable than the other. We often favour one side when it comes to all our balancing. So don't worry if you feel a need to kind of rest your foot a little bit down, or you can always bring yourself against a wall and kind of give yourself a little bit of support. But there's no shame in releasing your foot down. And let's see if you feel like you're more like the Leaning Tower of Egypt on this side, or whether you feel much more sturdy and lifted. This is my much more sturdy side. weirdly. Breathing in again, just checking in with your center connection. So think about lifting into your lower belly a little bit deeper if that helps you to find that firm kind of strength to keep that leg connected into your pelvis. Breathe, soften the shoulders. And then release that foot down. Just take a breath. Notice how it feels on either side. Breathe in, float the arms up. Breathe out, pressing the arms down as you rise up onto your toes. So just a nice balance, but with both legs so you feel nice and grounded. And then releasing the foot or both feet down. Let's go to the other side again. So imagine that right foot, trying to mirror you. And then picking up the left, drawing it in towards you, however deeply or however connected you want to be in. And this time I want you to float the arms out too. And then here, can we just bend our elbows like kind of warrior position? And I want you to bring your elbow to your knee and then bring it back. Stay lifted if you can. You can always rest it down if that's a little bit too strong. And then again, elbow to knee and then bring it back. Let's do one more. Elbow, knee, bring it back. Release the arms down. Release the foot down. Soften the shoulders, maybe shaky the legs if you need to. Float the arms up, breathing in. Breathing out, down, let's rise up through both heels. And then release the heels down, other side. So funneling your weight into that left foot, peeling the right knee in. Checking whether you're leaning, see if you can lengthen up. And let's float the arms. And then coming into a little warrior, bent elbows, breathing in. As you breathe out, elbow to knee, and then back. Now, if you need to, obviously, you don't have to touch, you can just gently bring them towards each other. So work within your frame of comfortable balance. And one more, elbow to knee, back, and then release it down. Maybe shaky, before you then breathe and rise up with the arms, and then press the arms down as you rise up through the heels. And then lower the heels. Let's just come into this standing position mindfully for a moment. So close your eyes once more, unless you don't feel comfortable with the eyes closed. But just breathe in this position. And I want you to just have a sense of balancing, being grounded through the feet, but how can you balance your body over your feet? So thinking about the heaviness, 3 parts of the torso. So you've got your pelvis, your rib cage, your heart center, and then at the top of your torso, your head, which is so heavy, like a sort of bowling ball. And we don't often think about how the heaviness might be carried forward or hinging back. So think about where those 3 points of balance are for you in your mind's eye. Can you imagine them being directly poised in line with each other? See if you can just softly breathe, almost like you're breathing the energy links between those 3 places. And then softly grounding into the floor through the feet. Maybe, if you feel comfortable, allow your weight to travel forward over the toes, keeping the whole body connected so we're not breaking anywhere in between those 3 points. And then just softly travel your weight back over the heels without peeling the toes up. So again, just softly waving the body. Notice which parts of the body, which part of the movement you prefer. So do you prefer being in the slightly forward position or the back position? Do you feel vulnerable leaning back, but you feel fine going forward, or vice versa? And then come to a position where you're directly over the arch of your foot. So you're not leaning over the toes, you're not hinging back onto the heels. You've got your position, or your organs rather, poised directly over the center of your foot, your ankle joints almost. Take a breath in. Flutter your eyelids open if you need to. We're going to on and out breath. Just gently nod your chin to your chest and begin to wheel your spine down bone by bone. If you prefer, go against the wall for this. Roll yourself all the way down, and you don't have to keep the legs straight, so you can soften them as much as you want to. So just let there be a nice sense of length through the lower back, rather than having to kind of necessarily stretch rather into the hamstrings. Breathe in here. Let's let the head soften. Nod your head yes. Shake your head no. And then rolling back up through the spine. So send the tailbone down and rebuild, thinking about placing the rib cage above the pelvis, head above the rib cage. When you find that nice balance of your organs, then rise up onto your toes. Just softly lifting the heels without kind of pivoting too far forward, still thinking about lifting up. Slowly lower down, breathing in, breathing out. Let's do 3 more roll down, just during your own time. So you might want to go quite swiftly if you like that sensation, if you like the energy of it. Or you might want to do 2 in a much slower time. So just see how you feel in your body. Make sure as you're rolling, you can really let the arms totally dangle. Let them softly release away from the ribs. And then as you're coming back, just let them gently reconnect into the body rather than feeling like you're pulling them or pushing them anywhere. Good, so just letting there be a lovely flow for those lovely spines. And when you've finished your 3, you can even do 4 if you quite like doing an extra one. Just standing, enjoying that lovely balanced position. And then from here, we're going to take the legs a little bit wider. So imagine them sort of towards the outside of your hips as opposed to underneath the hip bones. And I want you to just allow the arms to come out into a sort of T opening again. And let's twist through the rib cage. So starting off, I want you to keep the pelvis square and level. And we're just going to try and twist the ribs over the hips. So that hip funnels back as the rib cage twists around. So we're not following the movement of the ribs with the hips. We're trying to keep the pelvis really still. So let's just twist to one side and back and twist to the other and back. Good. One more either side like this. So keeping a lovely stillness and serenity from the feet up to where the thighs meet into the pelvis. So you really have to resist that twist, almost working back in the opposite direction. And then I want you to allow this movement to be a bit more flowing, and you can allow, as you twist, let your leg get involved and let the arms just maybe even give yourself a little pat on the back. So let's do some gentle self-congratulatory hugs and pats. As you just let the movement really twist into the hips, into the bum, into the spine. A little bit faster if you quite like that. And then just coming back through center. Breathing in. And we're going to come down onto your mat. So lying yourself down. If you want to and you quite like warming up the abdominals, you're more than welcome to start in a standing position, in a sitting position with the hands behind the thighs, or you can just lower yourself down immediately. So whichever level you would like. If we're rolling down, I want you to think tall to begin with. So onto the sit bones, relaxing the shoulders, breathing in. As you breathe out, lifting up into your pelvic floor, lower belly connection. So we've got that nice sense of energy there. And I want you then to send your tailbone underneath you and begin to roll your spine down with control. So you're resisting gravity as you roll it down. Find the floor. Bring your feet a little bit closer in towards your bum. So we want to think about the position of the foot kind of in line with the sit bone on either side, or the hip bone at the front. So the knees are hip width apart. And then organize your spine again, the same way that you did when you were standing. So you're thinking about the pelvis, the ribs, the head, Just take a moment to kind of notice the balance between those 3 points. And either having your hands on the belly or palms facing up, just let the shoulders relax. So just take a few breaths here. It's a really lovely thing to do, just to sort of let the ground take your weight and gently release any tension that you might be feeling through the shoulders, through the base of the ribs, the top of the pelvis, and where the thighs enter into the pelvis. So just gently notice each point of the body here and how you can just gently soften down into gravity a little bit, releasing tension. Maybe rolling your head from side to side. So allow the nose to travel over one shoulder and then the other. Maybe then little circles of your nose on the ceiling. And then changing direction. See if you can really soften any tension you might be finding in your jaw and around the neck. So notice if you're feeling any sense of holding on to the day. And see if you can sigh it out. So let's do a couple of breaths where we just breathe in nice and deeply. And then open the mouth wide and just let the breath sigh out as if you're trying to fog the window in front of you, breathing in. And last one, breathe in. And breathe out. Good, let's float the arms up towards the ceiling. Now, kind of like we did at the beginning when we've got our nice jellyfish breath, we're going to do the same here, but opening the arms out to the side. So as you breathe in, let the arms float out towards the floor or gently out to the ceiling, to the walls. You don't have to straighten the arms, you can keep the elbows quite bent, and then breathe in, sorry, breathe out, press the arms back together. And breathe in to open, so like a flower in bloom, and then breathing out, gently closing. Let's do that 3 more times. So breathing in to expand, and breathing out, softly close. 2 more, in, and out. Good. Last one, in, and out. And then releasing the arms all the way down. Just have a sense now that hopefully that breathing has helped you to kind of ground through the ribs a little bit, but just check if you need to. Make sure you know where your ribs are and see if the base of the rib cage can feel a little bit more connected down into the ground. With each breath, you're kind of allowing it to feel more anchored and connected. And now from here, take a lovely deep breath in. And as you breathe out, I want you to tuck your tailbone underneath you and begin to wheel your spine off the mat. Let's come into our spine curl. So you're lengthening up bone by bone. The knees are almost traveling forward directly over your toes rather than pinging out to the side or rolling in together. And the bum is active. So you want to really lift the pelvis up from the floor. Breathing in here. Breathing out, melt the spine down. Imagine each bone gently lengthening individually away from the one before it. Let your tailbone sink down towards your heels, so really complete the movement, soften in the hips before you then tuck the tailbone underneath you and wheel back up. So we're trying to coordinate with the breath, breathing out to roll up, breathing in at the top, breathing out to roll it down. If you do find that the knees start to struggle a little bit, it's sometimes quite useful to hug a cushion in between the knees, or maybe let the legs lengthen a little bit further away and bring the movement down a little bit, so don't go so far up. So if it is going into your knee joints, adjusting the position of your feet or squeezing a cushion can help. Let's do 2 more. Asking the bum to do a little bit more work is always useful as well. Getting the bottom to do its job. Lower all the way back down. Relax the shoulders, let the hips completely settle. So imagine the thigh bones really dropping into their socket here, so you can switch off the hip flexors. Maybe even place your hands there, just give them a little bit of a prod. So you know those muscles aren't overworking, they can be a little bit stressy. And I want you to float your arms back up to the ceiling again. Palms facing towards each other, just soft, heavy shoulders, and we're not kind of reaching and energized through the arms. I want you to feel like they're just there, they're kind of as if they're being lifted and lengthened by puppet strings. Breathing in. As you breathe out, find that pelvic floor connection. So think back passage through to front. We're engaging around the muscles around the pelvis, but you're not tucking your tailbone under. So make sure the pelvis stays grounded, nice and heavy through the tailbone. You're going to float your left knee in towards you. So just hinging at the hip. The knee joint stays at a kind of 90-degree angle, shin parallel with the floor. So we're not dropping the heel in towards the bum. And then release that foot down exactly where you found it. So imagine if you're sort of picking it up from water, releasing it back onto water. We're not dropping it down clumsily. Let's float back up. The other leg rather, sorry, floating the right leg. And then gently with control, release that leg back down. Let's do 2 more either side. Single knee folds. Noticing if you're tensing in the shoulders at all. See if you can melt the shoulders down. If it is creating any tension to have the arms up, just release them down to focus on the legs. But this just gives you a little bit of extra kind of balance to focus on trying to, with control, peel the feet up without making your pelvis destabilize. It's a little bit more muscular control you need with the arms up. And release it down. And then let the arms lengthen down. Let's just bring the palms to face up for a moment. Walk your feet to a little bit wider, maybe hip width, maybe mat width apart, if that feels comfortable. And let's just do a couple of little hip rolls. So let the spine twist. Let your knees travel independently. It doesn't really matter that they're wandering around without their neighbour. So they don't need to be moving in the same. We're not doing hip rolls where they're glued together. I want you to let them move in their joints a little bit. So massaging into the hip joints, relaxing into the shoulders. One more either side. And then come back through centre. Bring the feet back to hip width apart, grounding through the toes. Bring the arms back down by your side. Now, I'll just show you what. So what we're going to do is come into a spine curl. And I want you, when we get to the top, to imagine that your bottom is resting on a block. So you're really keeping muscular connection here to keep the pelvis where it is in space. And we're going to float one knee. So we're going to come into a single knee fold there. If that's too much, or if it sends any pressure into the knee, the pelvis, the lower back, instead of the knee fold, I want you to just do an opening. So coming into the same feeling of the pelvis, we're not dropping, we're not shifting the pelvis, we're either opening the leg out or we're floating the leg in. So whichever version you would like to do, they're both strengthened from the buttock. The lift up is obviously a little bit more load on the pelvis and the spine as well. So you need to be much more connected to your supporting muscles. So take a breath in. And as you breathe out, let's roll through the pelvis, lifting up, bone by bone. Ground through your right foot. Keep lifted through both sides of your pelvis as you float your left knee in. So lots of work for that right buttock, but also keeping that left hip lifted, and then release the left foot down. Notice if your pelvis shifts, if you have to re-press the hips up to the ceiling, and then float the right knee in. And lower down, breathe in and breathe out. Let's wheel the spine down, bone by bone. Relax the shoulders, take a breath in. We're going to do that again as you breathe out. Tucking the tailbone underneath you, rolling each bone individually, vertebra by vertebra. I can never say vertebra by vertebra. Let's try the other side first. So pressing that left foot evenly down, both sides of the pelvis lifted, float that right knee in towards you and release it down. Keep lifted through your center. So pelvic floor, buttock, lower belly, float the left knee in and release. And then lower, bone by bone, all the way down. Try that knee opening if you need to. So if there's any kind of pressure or strain going anywhere into the body that you're not happy with, keep the feet grounded. Let's do one more, taking a breath in. Breathing out. Wheeling it up. Now for those of you who want to go a little bit crazy with the extra strength, let's float the arms up too. Don't worry if that feels too much, it's just you can experiment if you want to and then bring the arms down if you don't. Let's float the left knee in first, keeping the pelvis lifted and release it down. Strong buttocks, even pelvis. Let's float the right knee in and release it down. And then open the arms wide, breathing in, keeping the bum lifted. And then breathing out, floating the arms back as you roll the spine down. And then float the arms back behind you. And let's lengthen the legs away. So you're in a lovely full body stretch here. So breathing into that space in between the ribs and the hips. Allow the belly to really expand and let the spine arch a little bit if that feels right for you. If it doesn't feel comfortable, obviously don't. But allow that natural movement to happen if it wants to. And then see as you breathe out, if you can connect the ribs down, soften and energize through the pelvis so you're not feeling so exposed and lifted. So let there be a sense of muscular sort of control and cinching. And then breathe in, expand. Breathe out, soften. And then let's just bring the knees in towards your chest, hug them in. Maybe roll from side to side a little bit. And then place one foot down, followed by the other. And then you're going to roll yourself over onto your side, coming up to sit-in. So if you need to, we're going to come into our mermaid position, which I know, let's see, for knees, if you don't really like it, see if sitting with your legs in an open cross is okay, or seated, maybe slightly bolstered. Or guys, you could always, what we're going to do is come into the mermaid side reach. So if knees are really uncomfortable, sit on the sofa or the bed and just do the side reach movement, if that's easier. So I don't want to make you feel like knees are grumbling, okay? So if knees start to grumble, come into a more comfortable position. If it feels right for you, taking your right leg in front, in line with the mat, left leg releasing round to the side. Notice if this left side of your bum kind of pings up, and if that makes your whole body teeter over to the side. See if possibly something like a pillow, or if you have a ball or anything near to, well, you know, one of those soft Pilates balls, which we'll talk about later. Stick that onto your sit bone, or notice if even if your sit bone is still a little bit hovering, you can still bring the spine back upright. So we're trying to find that sense of balance, rib cage over hips, head, ribs, pelvis. Soften the shoulders. Let's take a breath in. As you breathe out, we're going to lift up through that left arm, release through the right hand onto the floor and just gently lift up and over. Breathe into that space between the shoulder and the hip, and then breathe out, come back through center. Let's go the other way, lifting up and reaching over. Now it's here that there might be a little bit of tenderness in the knees, so do adjust your position if you need to. Breathe in, breathe out, floating the arm down, finding the floor, and lift and over. Breathe in, breathe out, lifting up the other way, all the way over. So we're trying to keep lifting through both sides of the waist, almost like a rainbow. Just because it's on the underside doesn't mean it's not lifting in the same way. Breathing in, breathing out, release down. Last one, either side, lift up and over. Back through center, lift up and over. And then back through center. And let's just go the other way. So wheeling your legs, or twirling your legs around to the other side. And you might find if the knee liked it on one side, it may not on the other. So adjust your position just centered position and just doing the side reach equally as effective. It's just a little bit of kind of balance and coordination that the leg position adds. So breathing in, again, notice if one side of your bum is lifted or if one side now feels very grounded. So we all favour one side more than the other. It's quite a good experiment to see which is which. Breathing in, let the arms release down. Float that right arm up, finding the floor with the left arm, bending the elbow softly, or you can even come all the way down if that feels comfy and right for you. Breathing in, breathing out, lifting up. The other arm comes up, soft shoulders, reach up and over. Breathe in and breathe out. Lovely wide, deep breathing here. So allowing the breath to expand the ribs. And back through center. Lifting up and over. Last one either side. And all the way over. And then back through center. Let's just take the feet together in front of you. Adjust your bum flesh if you need to, sort of try and see if you can poise yourself on your sit bones as much as possible. So we want in these sitting positions to be lifted through the back. I've got quite a baggy back of my jumper, which doesn't help, but lifted through the spine as opposed to tucking the tailbone underneath you. So if you need to, maybe a little bolster underneath the tailbone, a little block or a cushion might help you to feel a little bit lifted out of the hips as opposed to kind of tucking under, because we want to resist the tuck. Connect the feet together. Say hello to your toes, kind of pad each toe as if it's high-fiving, high-toeing each one. And relax the shoulders. Let's just take a moment to check into your inner landscape. So close your eyes. Breathing in. Sigh the breath out. Breathing in. Sigh the breath out. Last breath here. And then with your out breath, either ever so slightly lengthen out from the hips, walk your hands towards your ankles and pause here with the elbows kind of softly pressing into the nook of your knee. So you can stay quite upright if that feels right for you, but try to feel like we're still lifting out the hips, so we're not collapsing. I want you to feel like you're trying to open your heart center as if someone's gently pulling with a lovely golden thread your heart forward. And then if you feel comfortable beyond that, you can then roll all the way down into an out. I just caught myself on my toe. Into a lovely butterfly stretch. Whichever feels right for you. So don't force yourself into a position that doesn't feel comfy for your spine, but allow yourself to kind of go to the gate of a stretch, see if it opens. And rolling back up, bone by bone. And then from here, let's come on to all fours for a moment. So taking the hands directly underneath the shoulders, the knees directly underneath the hips. So notice if often we kind of let our knees release back a little bit, which gives our spine a bit less support. You want to really give your spine as much support as you can, each corner of your torso having a little kind of tent pole underneath it. Spread the fingertips so you pad each finger down individually, lengthen through the front of the foot, so you're really pressing and opening through the front of the shin. Think about the middle of your spine here. So notice how it feels. Where are your shoulder blades? Can you line up the back of your head with the middle of the shoulder blades with the tailbone, base of the spine, or the sort of sacrum area? So let's just start to draw little circles with your tailbone. Imagine a kind of like a hula hooping movement, I guess. We want to feel like we're just softly wagging a tail. I want you to feel the movement is in the pelvis and in the lumbar spine, but not too much in the rib cage yet. And then change direction. See if it feels easy and comfortable in one direction and a bit weird in the other, or if it feels the same in both. It's a very small movement, we're just kind of softly hula hooping. And then I want you to allow the movement to get a little bit bigger. Just allow it to travel into the spine in whatever way feels comfortable for you. So if you need to rest down, if your shoulders aren't loving it, if your knees aren't loving it, you can always come onto your elbows. But let's sort of gently roll this movement all the way into the spine and change direction now. If you can remember what direction you're going. Massaging into from the tailbone all the way up to the ribs, the crown of the head. And then opening your knees a little bit wider. If you need one, have a pillow above your calf muscles and release your bum back towards your heels. Forehead to the ground. Breathe. And then coming back up through centre. One last go in our 4-point kneeling position. So see if you can find that length from the back of the head, middle of the shoulder blades, out through the tailbone. So we're not sinking the spine down, but we're also not pressing it away from the floor. We're trying to find a middle ground. So you've got your bum, your ribs, your head in line with each other. Breathe into your belly. So let your tummy soften like a hammock down and towards the floor. But then as you breathe out, can you lift your belly up and in, but without disturbing the spine? So we're not lifting and curling the spine. We're just lifting your belly to find that real sense of muscular support and keeping the spine stable. So it's sort of a little magic equilibrium here that we want to find. Breathe in, soften. Breathe out, lift and draw the belly in towards the spine, but without disturbing any of your bones. And breathe in, soften. Breathe out to lift. Now, maintaining that lift of your belly, I want you now to send your right leg back behind you. Imagine you're balancing a tray of champagne on your bum. You do not want that champagne to spill because you might need it later or tomorrow, depending on the American election result, who knows. And then I want you to lift that leg without disturbing the champagne. Now let's bring the leg back and lift it again. And lower, keeping your belly lifted. If this is difficult for anyone's knees, rest yourself back. Let's do 2 more, lift and lower. Last one, lift and lower, and then bring that knee back in. Rest yourself if you need to. If there's sort of tension in the neck or shoulders, roll the head from side to side if you need to. Lovely deep breath. As you breathe out, lifting through the belly, supporting the pelvis and the spine without disturbing the pelvis. Let's send that left leg back behind you. Thinking tray of champagne, not moving and shifting in the hips at all. Let's lift that left leg and lower and lift and lower. 3 more. Last 2 and last 1. And then bring it back in. Open the knees, rest yourself down. Maybe just sort of TP the fingertips so you're stretching a little bit more into the shoulders, a bit more actively. If you like a bit more of a yogi position, you can even look forward to find that stretch or the energy into the middle of the shoulder blades. And then let's walk the hands across to the right side of your mat. Keeping the left side of your bum heavy. So we're trying not to, let's keep the pelvis kind of grounded, left sit bone to left heel, but you're reaching out through the left fingertips. And let's go the other way. All the way to the left, reaching through the right side of the body, but sinking that right hip sit bone back to the heel. And then come back through center. And let's roll ourselves up. And then from here, we're going to roll back onto your back. So again, you can just lower yourself down, or we can practice rolling ourselves using our abdominals. So either with the hands behind the thighs, or you can make it a little bit harder, releasing the arms, excuse me, out in front of you, breathing in. And as you breathe out, lift through the pelvic floor into the lower belly. So always find that engagement first to protect the spine as you then begin to roll yourself down. Keeping the feet quite heavy if you can. Roll yourself all the way down. Bring the feet a little bit closer to your bum. Breathe in. And then we're going to come into a little glute stretch. So float your left knee in towards you and take the left foot across the right knee. Check in with your pelvis. Just notice if you've shifted the left side of the waist a little bit. See if you can keep square in the pelvis, relax in the shoulders. You might need a pillow underneath your head for this one. If you feel that you start to look up behind you or hunch forward in this movement, see if you can really support your head so that you don't have to move in the shoulders at all. Reach for the right thigh, float that leg in towards you. And we're looking for a stretch here around the left bum. So if you don't feel that stretch, try and create the circumstances where it might happen. So for me, that is either bringing the right leg closer in towards me, so I've got a little bit more pressure going into the muscle, or even pivoting my right foot to the left, or slightly releasing my weight onto the right. So all of those things send the stretch a bit more into my bum. So see if you can maybe work into a little circle movements or whatever you feel like you need to find that buttock, wanted left buttock. Breathing in, breathing out, relaxing the shoulders, relaxing the back of the head. And release that foot down, but let's keep the left foot where it is. Let the arms release out by your side and just gently roll across to the right. Let the left side of your hip open. And then if you want a little bit of hip mobility here, just gently kind of wave that thigh as if you're kind of softly trying to open a door with the thigh. So you just want to find a little bit of deep mobility in that hip joint. If it causes any strain or pain in the pelvis or the hip, then don't do it. But it's quite a good way of kind of oiling the hip joint in this position. Breathing in. As you breathe out, connect to your center as you bring those legs back. So it's a little bit of load for the abdominals there. So we don't want to strain in the back. Let's bring that left leg down. Breathing in, breathing out. Float the right leg in. Take the right foot over the left knee. Check your pelvis is even and grounded. Relax the shoulders, breathing in. And as you breathe out, float that left knee in. So again, always check in with the shoulders. So often we kind of end up about here with our glute stretch. I want you to really feel like your eye focus is softly through the nose towards the front of your eyes as opposed to back towards your eyebrows, looking up behind you. And again, we're trying to find the right buttock. So maybe it's there already, or maybe you need to search for it a little bit. So either tipping slightly onto the left hip, maybe pushing the right knee away as you draw the left hip in, maybe pivoting this left foot like a kind of boat steer. That's not the right word. It just reminded me of maybe trying to steer a boat. Breathing into any sensations of stretch around the bum. And then release that foot down, keeping the right foot where it is. Open the arms, and then we're going to tilt that foot or that hip across. Opening up into that right hip, opening the right shoulder so it's nice and heavy. So we're really trying to kind of get opposition in this twist. Again, if you want to, little opens and closes, little waves of the thigh bone, as long as it doesn't feel uncomfortable in the knee joint or your hip or your pelvis or your spine. Nice way of just kind of mobilizing And back to center. Let's bring both knees in towards you. And first, just reach through the center of your knees, just holding onto the shins or the ankles, or even the feet, if you quite like that, depending on what feels comfortable. And I want you just to let the knees release away from each other. So opening into the inner thighs here, breathing into that stretch. And then closing the knees towards each other. Let's take hold of the right knee, send the left leg away along the floor. So finding that opening of the left hip. It may not be an incredibly deep stretch. If you do have a small ball and you want to have a little deeper hip flexor stretch, placing your bum on the ball here gives a little bit more angle for that stretch. So it's a bit more intense. Breathe. Breathe out. Little hamstring stretch, taking the hands behind the thigh, grow the leg tall up to the ceiling, flexing into the foot. So if you're here, that's totally fine. I want you to still think about flexing the ankle joint away. Don't worry about straightening the leg, but more think about pressing into that heel. That's where you'll get the hamstring stretch, whether the leg is straight or not. And let's circle the ankle. Change direction. And bring the knee back in, hug it in. Float that left knee in, send the right leg away. Again, just softly opening into that right hip, relax the shoulders. Breathe deeply, widely. And then taking hold around the back of the leg, softly grow that leg towards the ceiling, flexing into that heel. So I want you to stand on the ceiling in front of you. It doesn't have to straighten the leg. I want you to think more about lengthening your heel away from your sit bone. And then circle your ankle. Change direction. And then back into your little hugging your knees position. And from here, finding a place that you would like to rest your legs, whether that's up against the wall, over the sofa or a bed, soles of the feet together, knees apart, over a bolster. If you have one, that can be really lovely. If you quite like yoga shavasana, then adopt that. Or you can even lie on your side. So if you've got a little bolster or pillow, you can cocoon yourself into a lovely relaxation position like that. So whichever position works for you, take a few moments to find that position now. And there's no rush. Make sure you're really comfy. So you want pillow underneath your head if you need it, maybe even one underneath your bum or your pelvis. Really take a moment to soften yourself into that position that you're adopting. And then just gently notice your heart rate. So first of all, possibly take one hand onto your heart center. And gently tune into how your heart is feeling. See if you can allow there to be a soft, comforting weight of your hand on your breastbone. Maybe even both hands. And as you breathe, see if you can feel that space expanding, softening, warming with the breath. And as you breathe out, just allow it to feel open, connected, supported. Breathing in. Breathing out. And then you can take the other hand or one hand, same hand, onto your belly. Or you can allow the arms to remain by your side, palms facing up, however you feel comfortable now, but still tuning into your heart rate. Noticing that sense of expansion around that space as you breathe in, and then softness as you breathe out. Begin to allow your awareness to travel down towards your belly button, down towards your navel and below, towards the pubic bone. See if you can send the breath there, so softly inflating, expanding into that space. And breathing out. With the next 5 breaths, gently tracking that exhalation, see if you can allow it to lengthen. Without forcing it, we're not over breathing. I want you just to see if you can gently eke out just a little bit more breath with every exhale. Gently lowering your heart rate, soothing your body, stroking your nervous system. And as you come to the final few breaths, as you're elongating the exhalation, begin to tune into your forehead, the space between your eyebrows, the area around your eyes, the space around your cheekbones, around the corners of your mouth. See if you can soften around all of those spaces. Allow the breath to kind of gather and release any tension. So as you breathe in, see if you can just open up and imagine the space around the eyebrows, the forehead. And as you breathe out, can you just let it go? Around the jaw, softening the tongue from the roof of your mouth. Thinking now a bit further down again, allowing there to be a little bit of space between the collarbones, space between the shoulder blades, space gathering between every vertebra of your spine as you travel down towards your pelvis. And then thinking about the hip joints, can you imagine the thigh bones softly dropping into their sockets? Think about soft thighs, hips, front of the thigh, back of the thighs, the knee joints, and all around the calf and the shin. And then into your ankles, the fascia around your feet. Noticing any sensations when you tune in, when you send the spotlight to each part of your body. Checking in once more with your breathing. Checking in with your heart center. And see if you can just enjoy being in this position for a few more minutes or as long as possible. And for the next few weeks, I will, if everyone is agreeable, select a piece of equipment for each week. Next week, I would love to do the small ball. So if you can get hold of one for next week, that would be fab. But if not, don't worry, because we can do every exercise without one. But if you do have one, that's fab. They are a brilliant piece of kit. And you can often substitute with a pillow or something, so don't worry about buying one if you don't want. But if you are nearby and would like to pick one up from me, you are more than welcome. So I will leave you in your softness. Remember to tune into your breath, particularly if you are not going straight to bed. So see if you can come back into this sense of softness around the nervous system before you go to bed tonight, if you do have a brief break between now and slumber. And I will see you next week, everyone. Much love.